Okay. I feel like I'm an hour late behind schedule, but I got some great stuff to show you, so let's get in. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to today's stream. My name is Eric. I'm a photographer, cinematographer, editor, director, writer, and fight choreographer. Also, semi-professional floors lava player and rollerblader. And today, we're doing photos. We're going to work on some photos from Alaska. We're going to discuss kind of the landscapes. I got a bunch of photos that I've got picked out, and a couple that you really like. You are very, very rare sites in this area of Alaska, so that'll be fun to share. As always, the comments, the chat, totally open, totally welcome. Please, give your insights, give your thoughts, ask your questions if you have any. If I talk too fast, tell me to slow down. And if you are a creator, if you spend any part of your day creating art or music or anything like that, by all means, drop your links either in the comments or in the chat so that we can see them and share them. And hello, Shelby Lynn. Happy birthday eve. Going out there to Texas. So always glad you're here and always happy to surprise you with the stream. But yes, so yeah, if you are a content creator, if you make anything, hey, content creator, if you are an artist, if you make stuff that moves your soul, post a link in the comments or in the chat so we can all check out your cool stuff. My phone is going to be told to stop making noise because I want to hang out with you guys. So there's that. And as always, the reason I do this is that educational reason to that I want to share this work with you. I want to share my process with you, but also I want to show you stuff that's not behind a paywall. I mean, obviously I'm connected with a bunch of professional photographers. I follow them. I'm on email lists. And I got an email today from one of them saying, hey, we're doing a post-production thing and they're editing, they're editing like your photos. You can send them your photos and edit them. So there's a little more of an interactive piece to it, but it's a $250 for a session to see how post-production works. And I'm like, post is so important and so integral to the way, to modern photography. It can't be behind a paywall. I think it needs to be open and free to see how it works, to see how mistakes get made, to see how they get fixed, to see kind of how we shape the awesome things that we see. So that is why I do this. That is what we're going to be doing today and what we're doing every day. Also, can't say too much whether or not this is going to happen or not yet, but I may be going back and doing sliding some video editing streams in amongst the photo editing. So if there is if that's the thing you're interested in, subscribe to the channel, stick with us. Might be going back and doing some video editing soon because it's been a while since I've done a video editing stream, and I'm kind of missing talking about that. And one final thing before. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Might cut out, and we're switching to the worst one, but we'll deal with it. Anyway, somewhere I lost you in there, but basically, if you want to support me and let me keep doing this without having to worry about being behind a paywall or getting to continue making this awesome work, you can either go to my website erichackler.com/photography and from there go to my Etsy store or my main portfolio and you can buy a print, and that is a wonderful way to support me. Depending where you go, there are certain things that are only on each website. There are certain types of materials. If you want canvas, if you want acrylic, if you want something printed on wood, different spots and different things. But both of them have postcards. If you're just looking to spend a little bit, let me get these on camera here. These are some of my favorite spots in the U.S. Onto postcards, which you can buy and mail out, and they all have a QR code on the back where you can. Whoever receives them can scan that, and then gets added to a map, and we get to see where all the photos have gone. So yeah, that's the best way to support me. Get out of here. And in the meantime, let's jump into Lightroom today and start talking about this. And we're starting right off with a photo that is a lesson on why we shoot RAW. And I've talked about this in the past, and this photo is a phenomenal example. This photo is not good. You might have noticed there's a couple spots that are overexposed up there, but here's the thing. Because we shot this RAW, this is on my 24 mil, f-stop's 8, so I've got a pretty decent depth of field. It's good for landscapes. But it's overexposed. Mostly because if you see I was shooting, before this I was aimed this direction where you can see the sun is behind me, and then all of a sudden something happened and we all turned around on the boat, and we ended up with, and I didn't get a chance to adjust my settings, and so I was taking pictures that looked like this. So the question is this ruined? And the answer is no, because we shot RAW, and shooting RAW gives you the original photos look a little flatter, and you kind of need to do some editing to really pull out the beauty of them, and they're bigger files, and so you're not going to get something right off the camera that you can share, but with a RAW file, you can do this, and you can pull this down, and without losing quality. Now we're clipping a little bit in the bright sky where the sun is, but that's fine, and you can see this beautiful rainbow. So let me go. Actually, I think this is the one I want to work on. Actually, it doesn't really matter. I think I like all of them. All right. Let's see. I want to start with this one, or start with. Probably gonna apply the same effects to all of them for the most part. Yeah, let's do this one. This one seems like a good one to start with. They're all kind of. Oh, there we go. Hey, Stephanie, welcome to the channel. Let's do this one. Okay, so first thing I want to see if I can do this without. I'm putting it right back up. If I can do this without messing with the exposure. I don't think I can. Yeah, I think I gotta bring the exposure down. All right, so we're gonna bring the exposure down. We're gonna put these back, and we're gonna work on things individually. There we go. All right, so exposure's coming down to something reasonable. I'm looking at my histogram up there to kind of look for something to be good. But okay, so let's see. So we got this beautiful rainbow, which we were told. So this was taken just outside of Juneau, and most of Alaska routinely gets, or most of this area of Alaska that's sort of down on the thumb. That peninsula down there is a much more temperate climate. It is home to the second largest rainforest in the world behind the Amazon. No one expects that, but this area gets something like, like 280 days of rain per year. Like, it's not a place that gets a whole lot of, sun. So getting sun and getting a rainbow is a really exciting thing there. So we're gonna work on this photo. There we go. This is gonna be fun because we gotta mess with texture. I'm gonna bring this back up. Take it down kind of 1.5 stops, 1.5, something like that. Because yeah, then I can bring these whites down and I can adjust kind of like that. Okay. Yeah, I think shadows coming up is a good idea. I think whites coming down is a good idea. I think highlights going up. Yeah, let's keep the highlights where they are. Let's brighten up those shadows a little bit more. Could brighten up the blacks a little bit, kind of softens it out. That's pretty good. Let's recrop. Let's crop this in. Debating if I want to get rid of let's get rid of those boats. Come down here to the clouds. We got a lot of water here we don't necessarily need. So something like that looks pretty cool. We got the tip of the mountains kind of curving in on that rainbow there. So that is cool. All right. I do actually kind of want to be wider, so I'm going to widen out and include include that boat and make it a little more of a thing. That's fine. Might be able to edit that out. Don't know if I need to really. Okay, let's see. Let's come down here and start playing with our kind of bigger sliders. Dehaze this a bit. Dehazing is going to be good for pulling the rainbow out, but it's also going to darken, and so I want to find the balance there. Clarity. I'm always a big fan of clarity in landscapes, especially like this. Texture. Texture, I think I'm going to do individually, whatever individual spots I have. So that's pretty good. All right, let's grab some masks. That's what I want to start with here. And I'm going to agree this photo looks a little bit gross right now, but we're going to work on it. We're going to get the sky first. That's the first thing we're going to grab. One sec to unplug that. There we go. All right, cool. So we got the sky. Excellent. Let's also do a new mask. Should be a linear gradient because I want the water. Cool. Looks pretty good. I may come in and subtract some stuff. That's actually pretty good. All right, let's work on our sky first. I don't want to highlight the sky too much. I think the colors of the brightness of it is pretty good. I want to bring the shadows up a little bit. Ooh, contrast gives us some nice little color there. That's pretty great. Bring that up. We got a little hint of I think that might be a raindrop. I'm not sure if that's a raindrop in my lens or a cloud, because I do have some photos in this that are just raindrops, and no one's happy about that. Cool, that looks pretty good. Close the cup. Let's see. Could play with color a little bit. Don't really want to. I kind of like. I'm decently happy with that. I might desaturate it a bit, but actually desaturating a little bit is a good idea. I think I'm going to do more. Actually, I can't really play with color sliders on this one because anything I do is going to affect the rainbow. So if I want to adjust color here, I need to do that like this. All right, let's come down to texture. I like the texture being high. I'm going to do that separately. Let's denoise. Let's bring the denoising up. Let's do a new mask, which will start with the sky. This will be fun to do. And thank you for the compliments about my hair, Stephanie and Shelby Lynn. I am particularly proud of it today, but thank you. And then I'm going to intersect with a radial gradient. That means I'm just going to get the area that I want. Let's come up here and let's feather that up. About 60%. Let's go a little bigger. Go as wide as I want. Kind of just get this side of it. And here's what I'm going to bring the texture up. So we get some nice texture in there without really upping, because there's not a whole lot of detail over here, so upping the texture is just going to up the noise. So that looks pretty good in terms of that. Let's come down to the water. Water, I'm always going to up the texture on. I'm a big fan of having texture in water. Though, I think I'm going to do that, again, as a separate thing. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that mask. I'm going to turn the second one off, work on this one now, which will be our main one, and then I'm going to come in and do a specific texture mapping on that one. All right, highlights. Explain to me why it's getting brighter when I pull the highlights down. That's bizarre. Shadows up seems like a good idea. Blacks down a little bit seems like a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to push that more toward a blue. I'm going to still desaturate a bit. Yeah, just the tiniest bit. Yeah, because I really do love how that blue looks. Let's see. Whites. Bringing the whites up is a good idea. I think that's going to, bring that in nicely. Highlights. What are highlights? Highlights are still weird. All right. I'm going to push the highlights up, which is going to darken the photo. Go figure. And yeah, okay, so we'll do that, and then let me see the overlay here. Okay, so there's a couple of spots there that are too bright that I'm not a huge fan of. So we're going to open this up. We're going to subtract with a brush. I'm going to set my density to 52, so it's a little bit less. I'm going to bring my feathering all the way up. I'm going to see the overlay, and I'm going to remove the bits that are up here. Hopefully that will, soften up some of those really harsh brights. I turn the density all the way up. And now we're getting a weird color thing. Let's leave that alone. Let's do it like that. That works. Cool. All right, next one, we're gonna go back to this duplicate mask we made, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna subtract with, there's two couple different ways to do this. I'm gonna subtract with a linear gradient. There we go. Because this, to me, this water does kind of have a bit of a line to it. It's got a bit of a thing going, kind of like that. And so I'm gonna subtract there. I'm gonna let this kind of reach out. Good. And I'm going to subtract with another one and do the same thing right over here. We're going to extend that like crazy. We're going to pull this back. There we go. Gives us something like that. And this is where I'm going to up the texture so that we get this nice kind of easy slide into a more high texture center, which would be very cool. And kind of help draw our attention to this area. I think that's good. All right, let's pull this back, kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of guiding the where the light is reflecting on the water. I'm happy with that. I might actually bring the highlights up a little bit in there. Again, highlights are darkening. Explain that. Yeah, contrast is too much. Shadows up isn't bad. Let's do that. Cool. All right. Now I want to come down to my color sliders and see what we can do with that. It's not quite a double rainbow. It almost is, because you've got a little bit of an extra something down there. It's not a full double rainbow, but it has that look. It's definitely got some extra layering in there, which is really cool, and we're going to work on bringing that out. So, actually, you know, I might be better off doing this just with the saturation and vibrance, because they tend to, and then I can pump up the colors that aren't showing as well. That's cool. Let's come back to our water mask. Let's push this a little more toward a blue, and let's desaturate a bit so we get back to that level that we liked. Something like that. That's good. It's gonna let us affect the rainbow without messing up everything else. All right, now let's bring up some other colors. So reds, up to where I can bring them. Oranges, up there. Yellows. Yeah, these guys kind of interact with each other. We're going to zoom into here and work on this little spot. Reds. How high can I bring the reds before I get noticed? About like that. That's not bad. Greens. Yeah, let's bring those greens up. Aquas. This is where we start getting everything else affected. We'll come back to that. Let's get the rainbow where we like it. Blues. Hey, that's it. Everything in this photo is blue. We're gonna bring that down for everything else. Purples. A little bit. Bring up the purples, and then the magentas. Same deal. A little bit of them. Excellent. All right. Let's come down to brightness a bit. We can brighten some of this up. Brighten up the blues. Yeah, we get something chaotic, but I don't love. So let's. This is the rainbow's looking good though. It's looking a little neon for my taste though. Let's bring these all down a bit. Yeah, I'm trying to keep these in a nice line over here because that tends to give us a nice, yeah. It makes it the colors don't, when you don't have the colors too far apart from each other, they don't you don't get that weird fringing. If I was to crank the reds up, you get this, yeah, up please, thank you. You get this like harsh line there, and it tends to be, if you can keep them sort of, in a nice sort of, keep them, pretty close to each other, you don't end up with that, which is why I do it the way I do. All right, blues we could brighten up. I don't really want to. Aquas, I don't think maybe a little brighter is kind of nice. Greens, I like brightening up the greens. Yellows, oranges. And with the rainbows, what you do to one of them, you kind of got to do to all of them. Reds, up a bit, yep. Same kind of principle applies. Purples. Okay, something like that. And now let's come back up to our masks just to adjust them. This guy here, we're going to desaturate some more so that we get that. Yeah, so we're not overdoing it. Same with our sky. Sky's a little bit oversaturated now. I'm going to bring that down a bit, I think. Never mind. Yeah, I'm happy about that. Okay, cool. One more thing I want to do on this picture, and then we're going to be happy to move on, is I want to come. Let's see how I'm going to do this. You know what? I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to put this at 2 stars. I'm going to do a quick sync with this guy. Synchronize. Check none of those. I want to do this. I want treatment of profile. I want color. Didn't really do any of these, so that's all fine, but I also want the masks. Synchronize. So it's going to take a sec to update that, and then we'll move on. Oof. I'm using the latest update of Lightroom, finally, which actually, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel like they improved the processing speed. It seems to be interpreting commands a lot quicker now, which is great. Cool. So now we've got, yeah, all of these kind of have that look. Some slight adjustments to be made, but they all look pretty good. Where's my set rating at 2 stars for all of them? So cool, I know to come back to them. Let's see, we're gonna go off of rainbows for a second. And we're gonna work on some panoramas that I got, because there were a few good ones in there. Let's see, there's another one. That's a good one to work on. Let's see, I got a bunch of panoramas in here that I kind of want to play with. Let's see which one I want to start with. It's this one. That one's actually a really good one to start with. That's just a photo. That's a panorama. Ooh, I like that one. Like that one a lot. But I kind of want something bigger. I kind of want one of the ones that's got a bit more of a scope to it. So let's do this one or this one. Or this one. There's so many choices. Actually, I kind of like... Actually, I love this one. Let's do this one. So this is a... I forget how many photos are in this. Most of the panoramas I ended up doing on this trip, or on this day, were more than 10 photos. I think the most I did was 16. I think this one might have been 12. All right, so step 1, we're going to correct the horizon, which I think I just overdid. So let's undo that and adjust it kind of by eye line. That's off. That's good. We'll do that. Cool. And come down here. Can bring it down in as more of a panorama. I don't know if I want to. Kind of want to pull this end in and do it that way. We can also pull this over to the edge of the cloud. So we've got a nice sweep up there. See if I want to add more later. But let's do this. Let's bring this up like that. Yeah, we'll start with this. Okay, cool. Alrighty, I'm like, I don't like it as much. I want more of this. I want the trees. So we'll do it like that, because that really does show the size, and the size is great. I'm going to crop this in a little bit more on this side. I don't know. You know, actually, I like it starting way down at the bottom there. We're going to keep that. As far as I can go, fine, that works. Okay, cool. So this one, we don't have to do too many fancy tricks on. We can actually just start, editing like we would a normal photo. My usual plan, let's bring the shadows up a good bit, and then let's bring the blacks down, because it gives us that nice... Now, so that's the thing with colors and with the sliders. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. If you want low contrast, you want the sliders near each other. If you want high contrast, you want them separate. So here, shadows and highlights, I want them to be soft. I want to see all the details. I want to have the sky nice and bright. I want this area over here to be nice and bright. That's what I'm looking for. But bringing the blacks down gives me a little bit of, it darkens up the shadow, like the darker parts of the shadows. Not the shadows slider, but the shadows in the photo. And it darkens them up. and that gives me some like little bits of contrast kind of pervading our way through it, which will then be enhanced when I start playing with the dehaze slider, which does that. But we'll come back to that because I'm not starting there. I'm going to go to clarity, because clarity is very nice, even if it does darken. Texture, you know what? I do want texture. I want texture on everything but the sky, so we're going to do that as a separate bit. And then dehaze is a similar kind of thing. I don't even know if I want to dehaze this. I actually really like how this looks. Black and white question mark. Ooh, yep, okay, black and white. This one's black and white. The element of the tree sticks out so much better there. We're going to black and white this one. Excellent, perfect. All right, so let's do, let's play with color first. Let's come down to color, because black and white and color is a simpler beast. All right, so I don't want to bring up the greens. I want these trees to pop a little bit more, even though they're the darkest part of the frame. So making them more complicated with some brightening is great. I'm not going to brighten the whole thing up. He says as he brings up the yellows and realizes he really, really likes that. Where are my oranges? My oranges, I think, are lighting up most of the rocks, shoreline. I don't know. I want a little bit of that, but not much. Again, kind of keeping it in a line. Reds. What are reds doing? Absolutely bugger all. Reds can stay where they are. Aquas. A little bit of aquas in the water. I don't know. Maybe. Blues. Blues are going to be everything. So we're going to bring the blues down. Just a bit, not that much, just a bit. And then we'll bring the aquas up, which will brighten the water. Cool. I want to make sure I preserve the intricacy in the mountains back here. We're going to have some fun with that. Purples. Purples, which are definitely in the mountains and the sky. We'll bring that up. And then magentas aren't doing anything. Cool. All right, so that looks pretty decent. If I turn it off, there we go. So that's what it originally was. This is the new one. It's not a hugely different change, but it does kind of refine details a bit. I think I want to bring those blues back up a bit. I'm going to do that a little more specifically with masking. So step one, get the sky. Let's get the sky in this thing. So I think this is probably going to be a short stream today. I spent a good amount of time. I thought about streaming this, but then decided against it. I spent a good amount of time. Oh, good, I got the clouds in the mountains. Sweet. Not all the details, but enough that I can work with. I spent a good amount of time going through and selecting all the photos. There were 170 plus photos that I've now narrowed down to 37 by ranking them. And a lot of that, the other reason I did that off stream is because, like I said, a lot of these photos were panoramas, and so I could start the stream and you could listen to me sort of sit here and buffer while merging photos into panoramas, or I just figured let me do it all ahead of time. And now we've got 37 photos, most of which I think are good. There's a couple that are different versions of the same type of thing, but like, wow, that felt great. But like 37 photos, probably we have, 25 really good ones. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a shorter stream today, just do maybe 3 or 4 of these, and then like upcoming one-shots. Every time I want to, jump back to Alaska, we got a bunch of ready-made ones here to work with. Okay, let's do this. I want to add with a brush. Want the brush to be all the way up for a moment. I'm going to zoom in. It's also worth noting, back on the other photo, when I zoomed in, I was zooming in, not a huge amount, right? I was zooming in a bit, but like, definitely focusing on a part of the photo, but not a huge amount. Here, and that was at 50%. Here, I'm zooming, this is a 50% zoom, which gives you a sense of why shoot panoramas. This photo is massive. To explain how I did this, on most of these panoramas, I was actually experimenting with doing vertical or doing portrait panoramas, which basically means instead of doing a shot where you've got your camera and doing it kind of coming across like this, I'm just gonna bring myself up onto the main screen real fast just to explain this in a way that's not in the bottom corner. But like, instead of doing a panorama like this and just kind of taking photo, I was doing it like this, doing photo like this. So now, so instead of this being composed of like 3 or 4 horizontal shots, it's composed of 11 or 12 vertical ones. And so you get, as opposed to, if it was 3 horizontal shots, these are 4,000 by 6,000 pixels. 3 horizontal shots gets you 18,000 pixels going across. Doing it vertically and doing 12 of those That's 4,000, and so now it's the difference between 18,000 and 48,000. So it's a substantial change with this kind of thing. I also shot this on a 150 millimeter lens, which I will grab real quick just to show you, because it's not the lens you expect. I mean, it might be. If you're a photographer, it might be the lens you expect. But it's this one. It is the massive wildlife lens that is usually used primarily for close-up photography. Yeah, I'll take Fuzzy Eric as a reference. Is that the hair, or is that because my camera's out of focus? Other thing, buy prints, support me. I'll buy a better camera, I promise. But yeah, so shooting on this lens, which is typically a lens used for wildlife and not landscapes, the thing that telephoto lenses do, which is what this very much is they tend to compress. They compress space. So like a wide lens, you're gonna get this huge expanse, and if it exaggerates it, it makes it look like everything is further apart and makes the landscape look grander. In this case, doing a panorama on this lens in this way, it did a lot of compressing, and so the world ends up looking more connected and more closer to each other. And I really liked that for these mountains, because when you're in Alaska, you feel the thing that blew me away about this area of Alaska was the closeness of everything. The fact that there's and I've got some photos later on that I might show that are here's in the same photo you have a little town, and then in the background this massive mountain. It's all right there, and that was the thing I wanted to capture. So that is why I took this photo the way I did. I'm gonna zoom in and start doing what I said I was gonna do. Let me go ahead and bring our screen back up. So yeah, that's why I took this photo the way I did. That brush is too much. Let's bring the density back down to about 50. That's why I took this photo the way I did, and that's why when I zoom in here, it is substantially more. I'm intentionally being kind of sloppy with this. This does not need to be perfect, and that's why when I zoom in here, 50% on this photo is substantially more than 50% on the last ones. Cool. Those are the two spots I wanted to grab, and there's this area over here. I'm going to drop the density down to 20%. We are going to, this one I'm going to zoom in. If I zoom in 6%, okay, 6% zooms us out. 12% brings us in. Let's come in, I think 25% is probably enough for this, because I just want to sort of grab this area here in a somewhat meaningful way, just to kind of get those clouds and make sure they're included in the, and I've talked about this before on the channel when referencing some of the mountains in Alaska, but there really are. I'm going to subtract the brush. I'm going to clean up that one spot that I had. Let's turn this up. Let's zoom in. Now I actually do want to zoom in 50%. I want to zoom in a little more than that, actually, now I think about it. Let's go to 100. Let's go to 100%. There we go. Nah, makes navigating really hard. But there are times where I was I'd be looking up at some trees or something, and then I would and I'd look away, and then I'd look back up, and the fog had cleared. There's a mountain right there. There's just a peak that you just couldn't see in the fog, but once it moved, it was it's right there. That's the beautiful, beautiful world you're living in when you're living in Alaska, especially in this area of it. Let's come through here. Let's kind of some of these darker spots out. There we go. That works. That's pretty great. Pretty simple. I like it. Okay. So with this mask, we're going to do a duplicate and invert, which gives us everything else. Is there a bit in the middle there? All right, let's get that subtract brush up and running and kind of get rid of that, because I want the sky to be its thing. Does that mean it's here and I missed it? No, it's just not as strong. Okay, let's turn that up and let's get that in there. There we go. Cool. Okay, so come back to here, and this is where I'm gonna play. I said I was gonna play with texture. This is where I'm gonna do it. So texture up, and that'll give us the texture of the forest here, the water in the foreground, and the kind of patches of sunlight on the trees back there, which I really like. Jeez, the quality on this thing. 50% is still too much. Okay, but yeah, you can 50% you can see it. If I can stop yo-yoing and just zoom in and hold, there we go. But yeah, so you can get the texture on the trees back there. Yeah, that's a good start. And then go back to the sky, and we're gonna play with that a little bit. Let's see, we're gonna bring the blacks down. Don't bring the blacks down or the shadows down. I want to darken a bit. You know what? I might just do this with dehaze. Let's see if dehaze will be enough. Shadows, stay where you are. Scroll down. Dehaze is going to be, it's certainly a more powerful tool, but I think it will get the effect that I want. Yes, it will. It'll give me a little bit of that chaos in the sky, and then I can enhance that a bit by bringing the shadows down. Little by little, yeah. I can actually, I bring the shadows up. That again, darken and then brighten, and gives you the contrast, which is good. Blacks down a little bit. And if you're wondering why this photo is taking a little bit longer to respond to my controls, it's because it is such a big photo. So something like that. There we go. How's our noise in the sky looking? Actually, really pretty good, I think. Once this loads in, I'll be able to tell you. But yeah, it's not looking noisy at all. Another benefit of shooting panoramas is that you do end up getting rid of a lot of noise, just because that's how the photos look. Let me check. Is that peak just that dark? Let me see the overlay. All right, I'm gonna fix that real fast. Subtract brush. Just sort of clear this guy out. Let that catch up. So hold for 1 sec. Again, massive photo. Needs a little time to work on it. There we go. We'll clean up this area like that. Make our brush a little smaller. See if we can't work our way, just kind of a little bigger there. Just kind of right down this line. Nice and easy, good. Something like that. Give it a sec to update, and there we go, excellent. The only difference is now we gotta come into this one. Actually, that one's selected pretty well. Okay, I'm happy with that. There's some weird switches when you flip when you do a duplicate and invert, but this looks pretty good across the board. Yeah, let's take a look here. Take a look without the mask overlays on. Alright. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. I think there's a little more I can do with the water. I think the water we can have some fun with. Sky looks good. The mountains over there look pretty good. I wouldn't mind having a little bit more of a, you know, let's do that. Let's do that real quick. Nothing is going to happen real quickly on this one. What I want to do is I want to duplicate this one. Just not invert, just duplicate it. And that's gonna. And all we did was texture on this, so I can put that down. And now this mask is pretty pristine. And then I want to. How do I want to do this? There's a couple different ways to do this. I want to subtract a linear gradient. Basically, I'm going to use this to just get the mountains. That's basically the goal here. And subtract a linear gradient, which will get rid of the water for me. That's what I'm going to start with. So we're going to pull this down to right about there. This is actually a pretty sharp line, so I can go ahead and sharpen that line up. So something like that. Good. And then we will also, we'll just grab our subtract brush, which is already there. Wait for it to catch up to that. There we go. Make it bigger, and we will start erasing this section here, so that we can get more or less just the mountains. Remember, when you're brushing, it's always good to try to do smaller strokes that you can click on and off in between, or raise your pencil, because otherwise it is easy to start getting, if you mess up and have to undo something, undoing it becomes more difficult. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now I can give those mountains a little more clarity. All right, I was always running into that difference of lighting there, and I always hate having to figure this part out. Even though I know it is naturally kind of there. You bring the clarity up a bit. Could dehaze them a little actually. Dehazing is not too bad. It's taking away the detail. Let's keep it soft, a little softer there. But I do kind of want to bring the contrast up a bit just to get more of that detail in there. That is not bad. I'm gonna come back to. I'm gonna grab my add brush. See my overlay here. Okay. I'm gonna zoom in. That is way too much. 25%? That's better. Alright, we got our brush. We're gonna see if we can't get rid of some of this little extra line there that we don't need. I think we're gonna do a pretty fine job of it just like that. We're darkening the tops of the trees a little bit, but that's not too bad because they already are the darkest part of the frame, which works out nicely. And that's something you would notice a lot more if we were doing a color version, which we're not. So, yeah, darken that up. And I'll remove that little halo from the edge. Mask will start masking in 1 second, and we'll see how we're doing. And some of that's just inevitable. You do have that, that kind of disconnect between them, but that actually doesn't look too bad comparatively. It is weird that there is often a natural sort of halo effect when you have something like this. All right, let's zoom out and take a look. Yeah, come on, there we go. Not too bad. It needs a little bit of work. I'm gonna give it 2 stars and come back to it because I want to get at least one more photo done today. But yeah, I think that's pretty good for a start. All right. Can never get that haloing right. Always got to fight with it. Okay, let's do one more. Oh, I want to quickly show off a couple other photos here that are just. Yeah, there we go. That might be the next photo I do. Just, yeah, little village down there. And then mountain. Like, that's not necessarily a small area. That's a decent sized marina, and you've got a bunch of buildings back there. So again, another little spot. Apartments, buildings, little houses. Looks like the beginning of a marina area over there. And yeah, I think those are, you see power lines, and then just look up. There's a mountain. So that's what coastal Alaska is like. I think this will be the one to do. This one feels just great in a whole bunch of ways. Also, the fact that there's a lot more space than I think there is, which is this is going to be absolutely a phenomenal composition. So yeah, something like that. We'll start there. My horizon's a little bit off, so let's go ahead and fix that. That's way too much. That's better. Okay, cool. So about that much. Let's push it like that. Cool. Let's do. First up, start with clarity just to see what it does. Clarity's good. This one could benefit from. There's a tendency that I'm about to very much lean into with Alaska is to make it harsh, and I'm not necessarily need to do that, but I think this photo has a good harshness to it, and I like that. I like the juxtaposition of the small town and the imposing mountain, and so we're gonna do that. Should this be black and white as well? Maybe this is one that could probably do both versions. We're gonna do the color version to start. It's gonna be low saturation anyway. All right, highlights are coming down, shadows are coming up. Let's get that balance kind of up, and where we can work with it. Blacks are coming down again. Now to give us that contrast, and you can see here we're starting to get that halo, which even if I go back to the original photo, you still have that. You still have because of the difference in light and in color, because it's the I got to look into the actual reason for that. My assumption is it has to do with the wavelength of light and the color that we are seeing certain things as. It's the idea of purple mountain majesty because like the mountains, out in the American West are not actually purple, but far enough away, you start getting from the viewpoints that people were seeing them from, and they're like and the composition of the atmosphere in that area, that based on humidity, based on whatever else, the wavelength of light that was hitting your eyes was purple. Same reason in the Appalachians you have the Blue Ridge Mountains, because they appear blue from a distance. So in this case, I'm assuming it's something to do with that, where the mountain is far enough away so as to be picked up slightly differently by the camera sensor and interpreted differently by the camera sensor, and so you end up with this being bluer, this being a little greener, a little more purple, and the amount of light, the difference in that giving us that halo. So that's my assumption as to why that exists the way it does. I'm going to do what I can to negate it, but it is going to be a feature of these photos, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is truth, and truth is good. We should always endeavor to follow and find the truth. The most important thing to know about the truth is that it often does not feel good. Sometimes the most important truths are the ones that we wish were not true, but it doesn't change the fact that they're true. I've been watching a lot of debunking conspiracy theory videos right now, so I'm very much, it has reignited that, the reminder that, it's important to do your research and check things, and that's why and try not to get bogged down in, well, here's what I think it is, and therefore it must be true. All right. Fun fact: these are snow and ice fields. These are not glaciers. That might be an ice field. These are almost definitely snow fields, but not glaciers. We've talked about that previously when we did our Glacier Bay photos. It's another one. There are still several of that we have not done yet. So we'll see if that ends up being a thing in the future. Back to some Glacier Bay stuff. I'm gonna bring the blues down. I'm gonna bring the aquas up. That seems like a good idea. Not only does it brighten up the water, it also brightens up my my ice field back there. Let's see. Those aren't doing much. Okay, cool. So we'll start with that. Let's see. Where do I want to go next? There's a couple spots I want to do next, and we're gonna go into masking. So let's do that. I think I want to do this. I have ideas. Let's get started. Let's see how this works. This might be a longer photo to edit than I think it is, but we'll get to finish on a nice note of the artistic process, and then we will have plenty more to come back to when we start doing one shots, which will be great. All right, so we're gonna get the water first because that's always what I start with. Not always what I start with, but always what I like to do. So we're gonna get this just about right, kind of like there. We are going to subtract with a brush. So you'll notice Lightroom responding a lot faster when the photo was only 6,000 pixels across and not 48. This time I actually do need to zoom in like 100% because you'll also notice 100% is a much more reasonable thing to zoom into now. Oh my God, every little village I saw in Alaska I wanted to live in. They're tiny and gorgeous and just have this beautiful little, they feel just like a phenomenal place to just escape from the world and just live in nature. You lose a lot of modern stuff. Juneau, for instance, you cannot drive into. Juneau does not have a road into it. You can only get to Juneau by boat or by plane. So there's, some places only get mail once a month. Some places also very much, some places do not have reliable internet. Very much limits what you are able to. It's the trade-off. There's never going to be anywhere that has. I won't say never. It's hard to find somewhere that has everything that you as a person might want, but Yeah, no, I think the trade-off of being able to live in a place like this might outweigh the merits of needing the internet. There are moose. There are definitely moose up in Alaska, so we would not feel out of place. Also, glad I'm included in this. I love all of you, and I wouldn't be surprised if, I never didn't want to assume that I was invited. I could very much see the metas deciding to go off and take over Alaska. Okay. I'm gonna leave the boat there for now. I don't think I'm doing. I'm probably gonna saturate up, but actually no. Let's get rid of the boat because I'm gonna play with color. That boat does not need to be affected by my weird water stuff. Though you could argue a boat if you're a young vessel aspiring to be a boat, you probably have into some weird water stuff. All right. So we're going to bring up the saturation. We're going to push the color a little more toward green. Get that nice ice blue in there. Bring the saturation down. Doesn't need to be that much. Going to bring the highlights down so it kind of has that nice. We're bring the texture up so it has. There we go. Shelby Lynn, unfortunately, the answer is not for the most part. You probably could find some wheelchair accessible stuff in Ketchikan, in Juneau. Skagway is mostly flat, but Skagway is also a town of 800 people. 800 Skagway, again, if you've been on the stream before, you know my feelings on Skagway. It's one of my favorite places in Alaska, but it is a town of 800 people and 12,000 tourists daily. So Skagway is interesting, but yeah, for the most part, Alaska was not designed with wheelchair accessibility in mind for the most part. On the flip side, though, Juneau's state house, like their seat of government, was voted, in the competition of prettiest state houses. They have consistently scored 50th. So there's that claim to fame. They are also the home of the. At some point, we're gonna tell the story. I don't know if I've told it in the past, but editing these photos make me think of it again. At some point, I'm gonna retell the story of the famous Juneau Big Mac Helivac. All right, that is way too much and way too sloppy. Let's get rid of that. Let's do this again correctly. So, add brush, good. Density down. Zoom in the correct amount. There we go. This is how we do it. That is a gorgeous ice field. That is definitely an ice field. And it's really cool, actually. You can see... That's better. That's what I want this to look like. You can see the snow sitting on top of it, which is just freaking cool. There we go. We're going to get that ice. There's two spots in this photo that I want to connect. Actually, there's 4 spots, but I want to connect them in pairs. So 2 pairs of connectings. There's the water and the ice field. I think those need to connect, and we will do that. We're doing that right now by doing this. Let's get that small. There we go. Get in there. Getting all these little crevices. Because it's an ice field and it is full of crevices. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I do think there's merit in kind of a like a piggyback based system. Let's make sure we got all our spots here. Let's see the overlay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna push this up to like 70%. Come back through again, just because I want that to be a little stronger. It was a bit too much before at 100%, but I want it to be a little more than that. I want to make sure that we notice we notice it back here because it is kind of tucked away, and B, that it we can really register it. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now I can desaturate the entirety of this mask like that. That looks pretty good. All right. Ooh, there we go. So that's the one thing I want, the one section I want to connect. The other thing I want to do, new mask, brush, is I want to get this little town. I want this town to be a notable thing. This one's going to be interesting. We're going to see how we do this. Actually, forget the brush. New plan. Create new mask. I'm going to start with a radial gradient. I'm going to start with circles. I'm going to bring the feathering down because I want this to be just the area down here. And there's certain stuff I can kind of collect. There we go. Make sure we get everything, and I will shape it as I need to. So we're going to do one of those, and then we're going to add another radial gradient, and we're going to get the top of the mountain. Because these two feel like they are connected. They feel like I want them to be highlighted, and we're going to highlight the fuck out of them. Come here. There we go. A little bit bigger, like that. Excellent. Something like that. That's good. Okay, cool. So now we're going to subtract with a brush, and actually, hang on a second. We're going to new plan. We're going to subtract the sky. We're going to start with that because I want to get rid of the sky. Ooh, yeah. There we go. Clean that up a little bit. Now we'll subtract with a brush. Actually, we're going to subtract with a linear gradient next because I want to get rid of the water. Let's flip that over. There we go. And we're going to come down here. We're going to flip this up like that. There we go. Much as I can do this with, yeah, you start with your blunter tools and then you come in with the smaller details. There we go. Kind of like that. So we'll get rid of that. Good. Now finally, we will subtract with a brush and we will start clearing up some of these things. Just sort of getting rid of any of our perfectly curved lines because we shouldn't have those. We're going to kind of follow the edge of the ice, the edge of the snow, rather. Snow. Good. Up like that. We're going to get rid of some of that. Get rid of a little bit of this in here because that's a little more cloud than I want it to be. I want this peak to be my thing. Good. And then and then we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to get rid of the trees. Clear out. There we go. I'm going to come in a second, zoomed in even more. Really start going to town on this. Let's do 50%. There we go. All right, coming along. There we go. I'm excited that we are clearing the how do we move Shelby Lynn around hurdle. The next challenge is the how do we get Maria Lisa to agree to live somewhere cold hurdle. That's the other question. That's the next question. I'm going to drop this down a little bit and subtract some of that. Okay, so now I'm going to do a duplicate and invert, and just here is where I'm going to darken. Bring everything else down. The shadows still be up a bit, so there's still something there, but I want, yeah. Yeah, I want this to have, and let's do a, guy's already selected here. Okay, cool. Do a new mask just for the sky because I want to darken the sky down. Stephanie, you really can't argue with that. I think you may have just, yeah. I think you may have found our solution. I wonder if anyone else has ever been blackmailed into living in Alaska. Darken that up. Actually, bring the exposure on the sky down entirely. That's going to get weird, so let's leave that alone. It's so hard to adjust exposure. It's so hard to adjust exposure while not adjusting, and not make it obvious. and we're gonna denoise that so it softens out, and we're gonna take the texture down so it softens out. We're gonna push a little more toward blue. Not that much. Okay, I'm gonna do that on the other mask. That is everything else. I push that a little more toward blue, or a little more toward green. No, that looks horrendous. We're just push a little more toward blue. Something like that. That's pretty good. Let's do -5 instead. And we're gonna clean up these edges. That's the next step. So now we're gonna come down to here, and we're going to brighten. So I want to make sure we see that little town. Texture up. Saturation up. That's way too much. You know what? You bring the saturation up a little bit, and then pushing it a little more toward gold. That'd be the solution I'm looking for. I'm gonna do them. I might do the mountain separately. So the town looks great down there. I'm happy with that. I want to play with this mountain some more. The mountain I'm not happy with yet. Yeah, mountain needs work. Okay, let's work on it. Subtract brush all the way up. I'm gonna do this mountain area separately, so this is getting erased. Let me see the overlay. Erase all of this. We're gonna do the mountain separately. Now that I kind of know what I want to look for. Good. So we're doing that. Then we're gonna come into here. Do this. We're going to do a duplicate and invert on this one. This gives us that. Back to our subtract brush, and we're going to get rid of the town. So now we just have the mountain, which is excellent. All right, so now let's adjust our mountain to be exactly what we want it to be. So we know we want to put, come here. Clarity all the way up, texture all the way up. Oh, dehaze it at all? No, dehazing is bad. That mountain's kind of prominent anyway. I'm actually wondering if I need to do anything else to it. I'm actually pretty happy with that. A little extra contrast actually might be the ticket there, just to really pull that out. Let's do an add brush at a somewhat lower percentage, about 80%. And I want to get, there we go, get this area down here and kind of get that back ridge. This area up here, get that mountain top. There we go. That's starting to look like something. This photo's starting to come together kind of nicely. Nope, no, that's too much. Undo that one. We're now going to drop this down to 40%. And that's where we're going to do this front edge. Darkening that up very nicely. Go up to 60%, and I'm going to get the inside here, so it sort of stays a little more consistent. Excellent. That's starting to look very, very good. All right, let's come down to our color sliders and see what we can do with them. We've already done stuff with them. Let's do a little more. Let's bring the blues. Leave the blues where they were. Just desaturate them a little bit. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Push the whole photo a little more blue. I don't think I want to. Could go purple, could go green. Yeah, it's all looking like it's too much. This one though, we can push a little more. I'm actually pretty happy with it. I'll be honest. I'm like, in terms of, I'm not sure I'm done. I'm really not sure I'm done. I know what I want this to look like. I don't think I'm there yet, but it's coming along. It's coming along. I'm working on my dodging and burning. I'm working on getting the symmetry to work. So this is getting its 2 stars, and yeah, those are the 3 photos for today. Let me go ahead and set this to 2 stars. Oh, we also did the rainbow stuff. So we started with that. Yeah, we start with the rainbow, which looks great, and is there's something up in the sky there. That one actually, I think there is a double rainbow just higher up. And then we did this beautiful panorama, which is going to take forever to load. Needed a little bit more tweaking there, but is coming along very nicely. And then we did this one, just to emphasize what it's like to live in this little town in this area, connected to the enormity of the Alaskan landscape. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that one up on screen because I really like it. It's my favorite of the 3 today so far. But yeah, so thank you for joining this. Thank you for being part of today's little stream. Like I said, going to be coming back and doing more of these as either one shots or as full other sessions. Like I said, there's like 25 really good photos in here that we're going to play with. So, and of course, we still have we got a few more fox photos to edit from Richmond. We got a ton of bird photos from Richmond down by the water. So we've got some herons and some ospreys and vultures and stuff that we'll get to do some photos of. And the North Carolina coastline. I've got a bunch of shots from there. So plenty to work on, plenty to see in the future. And like I said, I might come back and start doing some editing streams in terms of some film editing streams. So if you want to see that, we'll be doing those things. Okay, let's come back to me just to finish this out. As I've said, postcards available on my website, either my Etsy or my main portfolio, but you can find both of those at erichackler.com/photography. And yeah, if you want to support me and support my apparent group move to Alaska, that's the best way to do it. Is just to pick up some postcards, pick up a print, and kind of let yourself see the world that way. If you like seeing it through my eyes and like joining my process, grab a piece of it for yourself, and we can and then get in touch. Tell me that you bought it. Tell me what you're doing with it, and we'll talk about where it's from. I'll tell you all the stories about it. It'll be fun. I like to have those interactions. Part of the reason I do this. So yeah, with that all said, thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you for joining me on this. Thank you to Evelyn and Mia. It was so good to have you guys on the stream. And now that we've met in person and I know what what to expect from you guys, I can now picture you enjoying the stream, and that makes me really happy. So thank you for being here. Shelby Lynn, again, happy birthday Eve. Looking forward to celebrating that with you. Stephanie, I'm just always happy you're here. Happy, I don't know, insert any random holiday that you want to be celebrating today, and that will be the holiday I am wishing you happy holiday of. So, great. And, that goes for anyone else watching. Anybody else, happy whatever holiday you want it to be. If you want to celebrate Talk Like a Pirate Day on May 18th, you do that. Who cares what's going on in September? So, I love you guys. I love every single one of you. This is always a dream. It's always a blast. Yeah. And next time I'll get the mic working, and we won't have to, go off of this. But all right. With that all said, be safe, be well, go make art, go connect with the world, go create awesome things, see awesome things, and then share the awesome things, because I feel like we could all use some sincere awesomeness in our lives. All right. Be well. I'll see you next time.